Hello, my little time travelers. Welcome back. So yesterday we learned a little bit about telling time to the hour, which we talked about is the very most important thing to learn on a clock. So if you think about it, and I want you to really think back to yesterday about how many hours are in a day. Think back, think back, think back. Do you remember? There's 24. Good job. Did you say 24? There are 24 hours. And here they are on yesterday's poster. I wrote them all out for you. There are two sets. Let's see if I can tip you down just a little bit without you falling over. There are two sets of 12. Remember, there's the AM hours and there's the PM hours, okay? And as you get older, you sort of start to realize the difference between AM, PM without asking. For instance, if someone said, "Do you want to come over for dinner at 6?" I'm going to assume that they mean 6 p.m., not 6 a.m. when I'm waking up. That wouldn't make any sense. If somebody said, "Oh, the birthday party's going to start at 2," I'm going to assume that they mean 2 p.m., not 2 a.m. while I'm in my bed asleep. So as you get older, that kind of becomes a little bit easier. Okay, and then we talked about how on digital time, which looks like this, you have two sets of numbers. You have the hour, and then you have the minutes. And on an analog clock, which is the circle clock, you have two sets of numbers, the hour, the big red ones, and then the blue ones, which we're going to talk about today. And you have two hands, even though they don't look like these hands, these are called hands. And you have a short one, which is the boss, and you have a long one, which is the minute hand. So in all time, there's two different parts. It seems like that's sort of the pattern of telling time, okay? And today, I think I'm going to work with this clock still a little bit. The only thing is I can't erase these hands, but we're going to talk about minutes first, okay? So we know that there are 24 hours in a day. But anytime we measure something, we want to know, well, what is an hour? Is it this much time? Is it this much time? How do we know what an hour is? Well, an hour is a pretty large measurement for time. So what we do is we have it broken up into 60 minutes. So each hour is 60 minutes. Okay, so the cool thing about this clock right here is it holds a lot of information. It holds 12 hours, right? Which is really all we need. We don't need the full 24 because our 12 hours repeat themselves. So whoever designed the clock was very smart because they only put one set of 12 on there. That's great. And then we needed a little bit more information. We needed to know what minute it was also, because an hour is a long time. And so sometimes we have to use pieces of time that are smaller than an hour, and that's what our minutes are for. So on the clock, this clock, you can see it has all the minutes on it, those little blue dashes. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to put it on our clock. So if you have your clock from yesterday, you can get it back out. If not, you can pause me and you can make a new one. Remember to start with your north, south, east, west. That's 12, 6, 9, and 3. And then you fill in the rest of your numbers. Okay, so I know that I'm going to ignore my hours right now, because right now we're going to start talking about minutes. And I know that there's going to be 60 minutes all the way around this clock. Well, I can't just start drawing little marks for minutes. That doesn't make sense, because in measurement, just like when we measured with our crackers or when you measured with a ruler, When we make minutes, they all need to be exactly the same. So if I asked you to measure your couch, and I said you can use anything you want to measure it, well, you have to decide on one type of unit. You have to decide, okay, I'm gonna use all goldfish, or I'm gonna use all Cheez-Its, or I'm gonna use all the same block. You can't do 3 Cheez-Its, 4 goldfish, a couple blocks, because that wouldn't be the same unit of measurement. Same goes with measuring time on a clock. They all have to be the same. Well, Mrs. McGee, how on earth are we going to do that? There's a hint on the clock. Who can count by 5s? You guys can. So let's count by 5s real quick, just to warm up our brain. We haven't done it in a while. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. Awesome. However, we only needed to go up to 60 because there are 60 minutes on a clock. So this is how the trick is. It counts by 5s. Watch. I'm going to do my minutes in blue. My hours are in red. Don't even need to see the hours. Poof, the hours are gone. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So look at that on my clock. All the way around would be 60, which means a full hour. And that's why on my clock right now it says 3 o'clock, right? When my minute hand runs all 60 minutes, it gets to the next hour. Well, how many of you have ever heard somebody say 4:30, or we get out of school at 2:30? Or I've said to you before, boys and girls, we don't go to lunch until 11:30. Well, that's because that's a very important piece of time. 30 is the halfway mark. So when you're a little kid, you always say, I'm 6.5. I'm 2.5. You don't say that anymore as a grown-up because grown-ups don't like to talk about their age. They're weird like that. But when you're a kid, half birthdays are really important. So you might say, oh, I'm 4.5. The half is important. We do the same thing in time. Time is another measurement. So instead of sometimes if you say, oh, I really want to watch my show, what time is it on? Well, it's on at 3:30. Okay, we have to figure out what on earth that means. Well, I see a 30 on the clock. It's not on the hours.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Oh, my phone's talking to me, or my watch is talking to me. I'm so sorry. I see a 30 on my clock, and it's right here. So if I count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, oh, I end up halfway down my clock. So let me see if I have a crayon. And I sure do. I'm going to draw an imaginary line down the clock. Real clocks don't have that line. And I'm going to color in this half green. Sure, you can do it on your own too if you want. This is half my clock, right? Like half a sandwich or half a cookie. This is half my clock. So when the minute hand gets down to the bottom, it's gone halfway through the hour. So let's look at what that means. Right now it's 4 o'clock. Okay, I'm only gonna move my minute hand halfway, okay? So here we go. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay, now let's look at this clock. What does that mean? I've got to check my boss first. And my boss is right here. He's pointing in between the 4 and the 5. Can he be a 5 yet? No, because he's not actually on the 5 yet. He's still in the 4, right? Because the minute hand hasn't gone all the way. So we say that this time is 4:30 because that's where my minute hand is. Okay, so let me give you another one. Okay, first, take a deep breath. Okay, we're going to look at the boss. The boss is the short little red hand, and we're going to tell first what hour it is. Okay, well, it's in between the 7 and the 8. A lot of times kids want to say, oh, it's 8. But it can't be 8 yet. Because remember, he can't move to the 8 until this minute hand runs all 60 miles or 60 minutes. And it's only run 30 minutes. So it's not at the 8 yet, it's still at the 7. So we would say this is 7:30. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's look at it again. Check your boss. The boss is in between the 10 and the 11. Okay, that means it's coming from the 10's house, right? It wants to get to the 11. Can't get there yet because our minute hand hasn't run the rest of his minutes. So this would be 10:30. Good job, 10:30. Now, a lot of times you'll hear, especially grown-ups, I feel like my mom and dad say this a lot. They used to say it a lot when I was a child too, and it kind of always confused me. They'll say, if I ask a question, what time is the party starting? They'll say, 2:30. And when I was little, I remember standing there going, well, what on earth does that mean? You did not give me any numbers except 2. So as a grown-up now, I understand what it means. Let's move to 2 o'clock. This is 2 o'clock, right? Well, 2:30 would be exactly what we just talked about. The minute hand goes halfway past. So if this is 2, my minute hand's starting. He's going to start running his 60 minutes, and he goes halfway. Well, there it is. It's 2:30, 2:30. And you can say it either way. You can say 2:30 or you can say 2:30. Let me give you another one. You try to figure out what this one is. Okay, deep breath. Check the hour. Here it is. It's in between 8 and 9, right? So that means it was 8 o'clock, but now that hour hand is starting to move, but it's not on the 9 yet. So this would be 8:30. Or you could say it's 8:30 because watch, that was 8 o'clock. And here comes 8:30. And next would be 9. And then 9:30 or 9:30. And then 10. And then 10:30 or 10:30, and then 11. So that is the next step in learning to tell time. And when we write that, we would change the minute number. So 4:30 would look like this. 4:30, right? Hour, minutes. 7:30, right? So when our big hand is pointing up at the top, it's 00 or o'clock. When our big hand is pointing down at the bottom, it's 30, or we can say half past. It's a lot of information telling time. But I'll see you tomorrow, and we're going to work on how to tell time down to the quarter, which is a little bit different. It's crazy. But again, you're going to hear people as you get older start to speak this way, and you need to know what it means. So we're going to get you there. All right. I love you. No place like home. Bye.